Welcome to Getting It Right by the New Zealand Society of Genealogists. I'm your presenter, Sarah Hewitt. For the notes that accompany this presentation and the other Getting It Right learning resources, please see our website www.genealogy.org.nz. In this presentation, we're going to look at sharing your family history with those who are simply uninterested. The people who aren't interested when you break down your brick wall, but the people who, when you start telling them a story, suddenly become very interested. So this presentation looks at stories, writing them, and then publishing them. So let's start off with writing. First question, who's your audience? Are you writing it for the children in your family? Hopefully they look a bit happier than these ones. Are you writing it for a particular group in your family, perhaps a branch, set of cousins? Or are you writing it for everyone? Once you've determined your audience, it'll be easier to know what to write. Let's look at a few examples. This is Rosemary. She's written a book for her grandsons, aged 5 and 6. She's decided to choose stories about animals in the family, stories she's been told by her grandparents and other family members, and stories from her and her children's lives. This is Jo. Every time I run into her, she seems to be producing a different family history for a different branch of the family. They all are very interested in them. She combines the stories with photographs and charts out of her family tree program. And finally, Pam. She discovered that her great-grandfather, Henry Suter, was a well-known New Zealand naturalist. And he had a great story, but nobody had written it, so she decided to write it. I should point out, writing a biography of someone is quite an epic undertaking. So once you've got your idea of who you're going to write for, the simplest thing is to start writing. But some of you are probably sitting there going, but Sarah, I don't know how to write. Start with what you know. Get together your documents and write what's on them. Let's have an example. I'm going to write about my great-great-grandfather. And I'm going to start with his early life. I know 3 things about him. When and where he was born, who his parents and siblings were, and that I don't actually know much more about his early life. But I do have a picture. And don't forget that pictures and charts from your family history program can sometimes explain things more easily than words. But most importantly, where have I got this information from? Well, I found a birth notice in the newspaper. I had to look up on the internet where Cardigan House was because I didn't really know. Jasper's family were rather rich, so there's quite a full genealogy of them in Burke's Irish Landed Gentry. But Burke's is a bit thin on dates, so I've had to look at probate files to find the death dates for his parents. And after that, well, I don't really have any documents until he arrives here in New Zealand, so I note that as well. It's very important that the writing we have matches the documents. And I found it's kind of handy when I'm writing my stories that I start seeing the gaps in my family, so I might need to go and do some more research and find more documents. Or I might need to look into the background, the events that were happening in my family's life that may have influenced what they were up to. And if you still need help with your writing, have a look out on the internet. There's always lots of help out there. Go to your local library. People love writing books about writing books. See if there are any local seminars or conferences on. The NZSG quite often run them. And last but not least, have a look at your local community education provider. Do they run courses on writing? Now we've written it, time to think about publishing. There are 2 options. First of all, we can just keep it digital. If you've written your stories in a Word format, you might like to just keep them in Word, perhaps PDF them to stop the images running around the page. But you could just leave them in this document format to email out to your family. Or, like me, you might like to spread it out to the wider world and put it on a blog. It's a great place to keep the stories. If you decide you want to publish them onto paper, there's a number of options. Let's have a look at what our friends earlier did. Jo takes her files on a USB stick down to a local print shop and gets them to print and bind them for her. Rosemary used one of the photo book publishers. It's great when you have lots of photos or colours that you want reproduced. And Pam, well, she wrote a proper book. I did mention this was rather epic. It's rather epic. But she got it printed by a proper printer. So to recap, first of all, decide who you're writing for. Then get writing, and then when you've done some writing, think about how you'd like to publish it. Thanks for joining us. The next video in this series is about travelling with your family history, whether it's popping down to the shops or travelling halfway around the world. We'll see you then. For further information, see our website www.genealogy.org.nz, and we'd like to thank the Wellington Masonic Club for their support in making these presentations. See you next time.